Good morning. We are here talking with a longtime Sacramento creative. You guys have probably seen him not only at our shows, at other shows around town, at conventions. We are welcoming this morning Chris Wisnia, who is here to talk about his new book that just hit the shelves, about his appearances, about the stuff that he's done prior to this. Welcome to the show, Chris, and it's great to finally have you on.
Thanks, Ben. It's great to see you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great. And we've worked with you for so long. We were just talking. We've never had you on our StreamYard that we had to obviously convert to during the pandemic. But you have been at shows with us previously. You've done other interviews with us, so people probably know you. But we're going to go into what you have coming in a moment. But let's just tell them what it is, and then I want to get a little history from you.
Sure. This is my brand new book published by Fantagraphics, Doris Danger, Giant Monsters Amok. And actually, this summer marks the 20-year anniversary of my character, Doris Danger. 20 years ago at Comic-Con San Diego, I debuted myself as a comics creator, and she was a back feature in my first pseudo anthology comic I ever published, and I am thrilled to be a Fantagraphics boy.
What was the name of the comic, the anthology?
The anthology was Tabloia Weekly Magazine, a comic that I self-published way back then.
We actually had somebody coming through the shop last week looking for Tabloia issues. So I don't know if he ran into you or if he saw it on Fantagraphics or whatnot and did some research, but it was interesting because I remember back in those days. And 20 years it's crazy. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, you were supporting me way back then. I remember I'd go to your shop and you'd buy stacks of my books. It kept me going in those hard years.
Which is crazy because the shop is actually 20 years old too. So you must have hit us up like right at the beginning, which is absolutely great. And evidently you dove right in. You said you went to San Diego Comic-Con with it.
Yes.
Right to the big boys. Didn't even.
That was my first show. Yeah, my first show.
So let's get into a little bit of the past on it then, because clearly you like some pulp, you like some eerie, some creepy. Where did this all start, and what was it that got you into comics and then making you want to create them?
I read comics since I was a kid and always loved them. As a kid, I always thought I would either be a musician, an artist, or a writer. And so I went to college. I got into UC Davis, and that's kind of how I got into this area. And I decided on art as a degree because I felt they had a better art program. At the time, I think it was like number 4 in the country for art, and so I thought, okay, I'll do art. And this was back in 1990 to 95, back before college acknowledged graphic novels and comics as a legitimate art form. So I was just learning, about color and composition and that kind of stuff. The department also was really into art theory and ideas of when you display a message, if you show a person from this angle, or if you show a person from this angle, it has different meanings. And like if you're a white American male painting a nude woman, that's going to have a different context, things like that. And I got really excited about those kinds of ideas. And I took a class on horror film and the eye of the camera, and this idea of how, for a movie director or for a comic book creator, how you frame the image, that's the viewer's kind of in to the world, and so you're giving a specific perspective, and so ideas like that really excited me, and it got me kind of looking at the history of film and comics, and I really got into film noir and horror and tabloid. ideas of things people believe in. And so my tabloid weekly magazine was kind of bringing all these ideas together, where I could take tabloid stories and I could kind of do comical, critical analyses of, a journalist who believes giant monsters exist, in the case of Doris Danger. So it was just kind of a matter of all these ideas in my head coming together. When I got out of college, this is kind of funny. You can't make a living with an art degree. And so I wound up making minimum wage at a picture frame shop that was next door to a comic shop. It was called the Comic Box, with local Paul Martin, and he had gotten a couple stories at Marvel, and he kind of had a little community of aspiring artists. And Tom Coker was hanging out there, who's done a lot of professional comics work. And at the time, he had just been put on a fill-in issue of Wolverine, where Wolverine fought Magneto and yanked the skeleton of Wolverine out using his magnetic powers. And I heard at the time that like he was able to put a down payment on buying a new house with the royalties he got. And I went, maybe I'd like to be a comics artist, little knowing that, that's a very rare story.
Yeah. And they have to pick out one particular issue that everybody's was excited about.
Exactly. And so that got me thinking, oh, maybe I could come up with a comic story idea. And so that's how it all kind of came together, and I've been doing it since. So
where was this comic shop at?
It was down 99, Elk Grove.
I don't know. I never went to that.
Is it Elk Grove? I don't know my Sacramento areas very well.
Yeah, I believe it would be out that way. Okay, so and so you got this idea, you saw this, you're like, I can do this, I've got ideas. And then what happened?
So I originally didn't want to draw it because I know that's a lot of work.
You had the art degree.
Yeah. But I fashioned myself as this idea man,
Okay.
And so I'd come up with all these ideas. And I couldn't really find an artist to do it. So I thought, okay, I'll just draw it until I make my name in the industry. And then, then I'll get all these other artists. And so I was going to portfolio reviews and stuff for a few years, and not realizing that my stuff is not mainstream. All my ideas make sense in my head to me, but I kind of thought, well, if I self-publish, then maybe it'll be a finished project, and then people will be able to visualize better what I'm doing. And then the job offers will come pouring in. So I self-published that Tabloid Weekly magazine, and I planned for it to be a 6-issue thing. I submitted it to Diamond. I was put into the Diamond catalog, and the first book came out, and I think it sold about maybe 650 copies or something like that through Diamond. And I went, oh, so I thought, okay, I got to figure out how to build my readership from here. And so I was going to the conventions, I was doing signings at bookstores. I was learning to try and do the social media. This was 2004. So is that like maybe pre MySpace even? I can't remember.
This was the beginning, man.
Yeah. And so, it was like, oh, I'll make a website, and just real basic stuff. And the sales just went down, not up from there. And so when issue 3 or 4 came out, Diamond said, I think we're going to drop the distribution on this. And I said, it's supposed to be 6 issues. Could you just let me do a giant size 5th issue? Because then I can at least finish the story arc. and so they let me finish the story arc.
Oh,
So I did have, you know, a series, and then from there I collected the main story, and Doris Danger was a 5-page backup feature, and it was inked by Dick Ayers because it's supposed to be a parody and homage of the pre-superhero Marvel giant monster horror comics. And Dick Ayers inked those original comics in the late 50s, early 60s. And
well, before you go on, how did you manage that?
Going to comic conventions, I just met a lot of artists, and so over time, you know, I would show them that I was working on these projects, and everybody really liked the giant monster stories. You know, they liked this idea of tapping into the history of comics, and so I was able to get a lot of my favorite comics artists to contribute pinups of giant monsters, and that tradition continues into this new Fantagraphics book. Yeah, so Dick Ayers, early on when I was going to conventions, I just showed him non-giant monster stuff I was working on and asked him, hey, would you be interested in like giving a pinup of one of my characters or something? And he said, yeah, get in contact with me. And this was at a Comic-Con in San Diego, and somewhere on the way home or before I still at the convention, like this light bulb went bing. Wouldn't that be cool to do like a parody Jack Kirby style giant monster story and have Dick Ayers ink it? And so I wrote this huge letter asking him if he'd be up for it. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And so it was super fun. And he sent the pages back for, you know, just a 5-page story. And I thought, okay, this will just be a fun little 5-page story. And he said, hey, this was a lot of fun. Let me know if you want to do more. And I went,
like, okay,
all right,
yeah,
let's do it. And so I kind of just fell into it accidentally.
I mean, so first off, it's not accidental. You put a lot of legwork in. You put a lot of time. You put a lot of hard work. This is all credit to you, sir.
Well, thank you. What I mean by accidentally is, let me explain further, right? Okay. So I've got all these stories that Dick Ayers inked. I've got all these great pinups by some of my favorite artists of giant monsters. And so it was just an anthology with 4 different stories in it. And the last story is a 5-page monster story of Doris Danger. So when the series got canceled, it had been 5 issues. So I had 25 pages of these giant monster stories. So I thought, well, maybe I can capitalize on this. So I'll create a collection of that, but 25 pages isn't much. So I did an extra story and some bonus features. I collected that. That seemed to be the most popular thing I was doing. So I did a second larger book's worth of stories. And meanwhile, I'm going to publishers trying to get someone that wants to publish me so I don't have to self-publish anymore. And over the years, going to conventions and just going up and checking in and saying, hey, here I am again. Here's what I'm working on. What do you think? Dan at SLG Publishing finally said, hey, I think I'm ready to do something with you. And I was pitching all these different ideas, and he says, but I really like your giant monsters. And so it's like, okay, I guess I'm going to continue doing the giant monsters. And so I wound up doing 3 books of giant monsters with SLG. And meanwhile, I'm checking in at the Fantagraphics booth every convention I go to, showing Gary Groth what I've got going on. And every year he's very kind. He's smiling. We're having nice visits together. And I show him this one project, and it's the magic year. He says, I think that's going to be the one, Chris. And I went, what? And so I've got this project idea in mind that Fantagraphics is interested in. And as we're discussing how does this work, he says, but I still can't stop thinking about your giant monsters. I'm going, oh,
Oh.
you're kidding me. So here we go again. I'm still doing the giant monsters, right? There they are. And so yeah, it's like it yes, hard work is involved, and sure, talent, if you know, if I may, and a lot of stuff kind of accidentally fell in place, putting me down this course.
That is fair enough, and it's interesting too because you know these are people you've talked to year after year, and you've kept up with, and it's just like throwing that dartboard or the dart at the dartboard. You're like, okay, this I've shown you these before. I've talked to you. Here's a new pitch, and then you go back to the one I've already talked about. So that's great. So Fantagraphics, you've been with them a while now.
I signed the contract 3 years ago, January, for this book.
That's great.
And it took this long to get it out.
Now,
and,
oh, go
ahead. So I've been with Fantagraphics yes. for over 3 years, but this is the first release with them.
Yes, but it's not like you were doing issues. We're talking about a full collection.
This is a 224-page graphic novel. None of it has been published before, and it's the first full color Doris Danger graphic novel, colored by my best friend Ricky Sprague.
And I mean, this cover says everything you need to know with the shock, fright, thrills. That you know the monster, the look on her face, the hair, everything. So what can they expect in this then?
So on the surface, Doris Danger is a photojournalist who believes she was abducted by a giant monster as a child. So it's a parody of the old X-Files TV series and of conspiracy theories. She travels around the globe trying to snap that indisputable photo so that she can validate her beliefs. And in doing so, she runs across every bizarre conspiracy theory, crackpot group of other factions. There's an Army G division dedicating to capturing up and containing and exterminating monsters before the gullible, imbecilic American public learns of their existence. There's a Monster Liberation Army going against the Army G division, who thinks that the public has a right to know. There is a bizarre fez-wearing cult who's sworn their existence to protecting giant monsters. There are some dumb hillbillies running around who just want to fire off guns. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of crazy nonsense. There are people unmasking to reveal they're secretly robots on some unknown agenda. There are robots unmasking to reveal they're actually human beings. there are giggling scientists. So it's just
you're hitting it all. You're hitting like everything. That's great.
Yes.
I mean, there we go. There's one of the monsters revealing they're a robot.
Yes.
The human revealing they're a robot.
Yes.
No, so it sounds like you had a lot of fun doing this.
Yes, and then on that's just what's on the surface. Now, from a bizarre theoretical angle, I've added to that this fictitious publisher who has produced this comic named Tabloid Weekly Magazine. And they've been around since the 50s. They published these true life stories when they originally came out. And now they've stumbled onto a stack of copies of these old issues, and they want to take advantage and throw together a quick volume of these and put them on the market so they can make a quick buck. And so throughout the book, there are text features written by a fictitious editor, Rob Oder, who tells you about the history of Doris Danger and this national conspiracy, and about the history of the publishing of these works over the last decades. So
Okay.
it's very meta,
Yeah.
and it's about the history of comics, and so it's a little mind bending.
Did you include any ads?
You know, I was on the fence. I have never included ads in the 20 years I've been doing this. So
Okay.
you cannot order your X-ray
Yeah, that's what I was just
goggles.
thinking. Okay, you decided against that one. Okay, all right, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Or your life-size blow-up giant monster.
uh, well, okay. So what is this here, real quick? I read it anyway. Stan Lee.
I mentioned how I'd been going to comic conventions for a long time, and so I was able to get pinups of giant monsters from a lot of my favorite artists, and I was also able to get quotes of endorsement from a lot of my favorite artists. So we included them. This is a few quotes of endorsement I got from various of my favorite comics creators, and I was able to get a quote from Stan Lee, which I'd be happy to read for you if you like. You got to picture Stan Lee's voice. The title alone, Doris Danger Seeks Where Giant Monsters Creep and Stomp, should have warned me off, but I read it anyway. Somehow Chris Wisnia had performed the amazing feat of taking the minor masterpieces that Jack Kirby and I had done and looking at them through a carnival's distorting mirror. I wanted to write the sort of thoughtful philosophical blurb about DDSWGMC and S for which I'm so justly famed. But after getting caught up in its weird and wacky contents, no mere words of mine could truly do it the injustice it deserves. Therefore, I'll just add the one sentence that applies to any horror or monster tale. Read it at your own risk.
Wow. That was nice. That was really nice. And it wasn't just I read it, I liked it. Like he gave you a great quote.
He took the time, yeah. And so when my editor, Mike Catron, and I were putting this book together, we thought, well, it's got to be the Stan Lee quote on the cover, but we can't fit that whole quote. And my editor came up with, I read it anyway.
I think it's fantastic because it fits. It fits the whole feel. So that is absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So you guys, you can get the book now at shops. Chris is actually going to be down with us next weekend, correct?
Yes.
Next Saturday, he'll be in the shop signing copies and talking to you about his book. So please come down. We open at noon next Saturday. You're also going to be appearing over at World's Best on the 17th. You're going to be out in Davis when?
On the 10th. I'll be at Bizarro World from noon to 3. And then in the evening, 6 to 8, I'll be Armadillo Music, and they'll be serving beer.
Look at that. And I love it because you're still incorporating the three things that you knew you were going to do: music, art, and writing. That's absolutely beautiful. And where can they get it online from you too, or did you just go to Fantagraphics?
I don't have it for sale yet at my website, but you can go directly to fantagraphics.com, get it from them. It's on Amazon, and naturally, we love if you go to your local comics shop. Go and let them know you'd like a copy so you can support your local business.
Yes, and thank you. We appreciate that too. Yeah, and make sure you pick up your copy. If you're coming to Empires and you're going to do it, just come in next Saturday, meet Chris, talk to him, get him to sign the book, and learn more about Doris Danger. So before we let you go, do we have anything else in the works or planned that you can talk about?
The project that I told you I pitched to Fantagraphics that they said this is the one, I signed the contract for it this month.
I love how they're like, this is the one. As soon as you give us, then it's the one. So that's great. You've got something new to work on. Obviously, you can't talk too much about it. are we talking? Fantagraphics is pretty much just trade, so you got to finish a full trade.
It is ready for action, so I'm just waiting for them.
Are you done?
I once I signed the contract, I've gone back a little, and I'm just making sure it's just so. It's a process because I do all the work, and they have such a great eye for making it look good. So they figure out how they want to present it, and this next project I've got going has some big design elements that I think are going to take them some time for us to get it looking its best. So it could be a little while. Not to mention, this one just came out, so we got to promote that. Yeah.
Spend some time getting doors. So are we? I'm not going with you. Are you hitting any comic conventions coming
up? Yes, I am all set to sit at the Fantagraphics booth at Comic-Con San Diego this year. And I am planning to do the same for SPX in Baltimore, and I might do something else with Fantagraphics, but I'll definitely be at Comic-Con, and I'm planning to be at SPX.
And of course, everyone, it's right there. Follow the man so that you can find out where he's going to be, what he has coming. Go follow him. Go check out his website, and of course, next Saturday down at Empires, come down, meet him, pick up a copy, and enjoy the craziness that is Doris Danger. So Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to spending the day with you next Saturday, and you just enjoy your weekend. And oh, wait, there we go. Good luck from Four Tails Podcast. So thank you very much. And thank you, Kyron, who he says he loves your work.
Thank you, Kyron. Hope to see you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I'll see you next weekend.
Bye-bye.
Well, we're still live, so I'm